There we go. Welcome back, everybody, to the YouTube channel Reiki Zen, and welcome to another coffee chat. And today we have Anna Marie, who is a Reiki master in the UK, in Leicester or Leicestershire, somewhere down that way, I do believe.
Yeah, that's
And,
absolutely
so
right.
let's say hello, Anna Marie.
Hi.
How are you?
Hello.
Are you well?
I'm good, thank you, Ian. Yeah, I'm very good, thank you.
Very
Thanks
good.
for having
Thanks
me
again
on.
for taking the time today to come and do a little coffee chat with me and explore a little bit of your journey and where you are and where you've been and what you're doing and
Yeah.
where you're
I
going.
know, yeah.
Uh,
Well, it's been quite intense, put it that way.
right, okie dokie. Well, if you want to go into that, then feel free to talk about that as well. But yeah,
Okay.
it's just I just find it quite interesting to hear the different stories and different accounts of what people have been through, what's
Mm,
brought them to the here and now to become the people that they are, the people that they've um, almost morphed into, really, and changed and totally altered their perspective on many things, really.
oh,
But yeah,
definitely,
I
yeah.
think it's a fascinating journey for us all to go through. So tell us a little bit about you, who you are, where you're from, your business.
Okay. Well, I live in Leicestershire and I have done for a long time, although I was actually born in Aberdeen.
Right?
so so that in itself is a physical journey to get here. Yeah, I was born there and lived there as a young child and came to Leicestershire later on. I'm married, I've got 4 children. I've got a lovely dog at the side of me who'll probably pop his head
Just saw
in
a
at
little
some
nose
point.
poking.
Yeah, I've got a cat and yeah, so lots going on, busy household.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just busy.
but that, a good
So
busy, I'm sure.
oh yeah, yeah, definitely. You don't get many moments of quiet, and I have had to. I've got my youngest daughter knocking around the house, so I'm like, I'm going to be in here. Don't come in. Just trying to keep things nice. Yeah, so I've not been doing Reiki for that long. I've been a master for around about a year now.
Mm,
Um, and I was brought to Reiki really after a period of illness, which we can go into a little bit more. But at the moment, I do have a job as well. So I tend to do Reiki on a Saturday,
yeah,
and I try to do a couple of sessions a month.
yeah,
It really depends on demand at the minute. It is something that I'm looking to build up further, but it's just sort of early days for me with it yet.
yeah, yeah,
So it's just kind of organising everything. I've got a space that I hire at the weekends, and that seems to be working out quite well. I would eventually like to be doing my Reiki from home,
yeah.
but at the moment, as I say, it's a bit of a busy household with children of various ages coming and going. So it makes it a little bit tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat as yourself, really, because all my work is done distantly. It would
Yeah.
be nice to have my own kind of space, but a bit like you, we've got 2 dogs which are quite big and boisterous, and they're a little bit anxious of people that they're not too sure of. So
Yeah.
not exactly the most peaceful of an environments to bring people into.
That's it. Yeah.
So yeah, so whereabouts do you hire like a room in like a salon, or is it just like a room that you've just found?
It's actually it's like a very posh type of body shop. It's
Right.
very exclusive products.
Yeah.
Um, it's more of a product shop than a salon. But she did have a salon space set up in the back. I think she had plans initially when she opened that she would see people for facials and sell her products that way. Um, but that's not something that she's particularly followed. So she's got a beautiful room. It is a lovely room that I work from.
Yeah.
And there's a girl actually that I went to school with, I found out afterwards, but she does acupuncture from the room a couple of
Ah,
days a week.
right.
And then I've got the room on a Saturday with potential to sort of grow into the days that she's not using it.
Yeah.
So that's where I am, and it's
Yeah.
quite nice. It's in quite an exclusive shopping area
Yeah.
of Leicester, and it is on the high end of the market, um, which is nice. You know, it's nice to attract those kind of people, and it's also gives people a little bit of confidence when they find out where you're working.
Yeah.
That they think, oh yes, that's, you know, a good area to go to, or I'm not worried about
Yeah.
going to that
Absolutely.
place.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little bit of a challenge, I think, to find the right sort of place to work from.
Yeah.
Um, and the room is very good. The only sort of downside, I think, of working from a commercial space is that probably if I was working from home, I would have my appointments spaced out much more. I would probably, you know, people would have more time after Reiki to recover
Yeah.
and sort of get up in their own time and
Yeah.
so on and so forth, which I do have a short gap that I keep between clients, but commercially you can't leave too long because I'm paying for the space.
Yeah.
It's very, that's one of the constraints that you sort of have to work under.
Yeah. And it's, I suppose, even though like it's obviously this form of healing and complementary healing that you're working with, there's also, like you say, there's the pressure of the commercial aspect that you need to kind of do the treatment, give them what chance they can, and then kind of get the next one in, so the, you know, it's feasible for you in the long term to pay for that
Yes.
room. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That,
yeah. So there's sort of pluses and minuses, I think. I think the thing, although I've had a lot of distance Reiki myself, and you know, it's perfectly the same as an in-person um session. There's no difference in the quality or the effect that you have. But the other side to that is the amount of advertising and work that you then have to put in that way
yeah.
to get your clientele.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can quite relate to that, because
Yeah,
even,
yeah,
I mean, I have a job as well, so I have like a part-time job as well as this, and you know, you never really have kind of a day off as such, because even if you sat having a cup of coffee or whatever, you're still kind of scrolling through, thinking of like, right, what can I put out there next as an idea for people to think of, that they might feel distance Reiki or Reiki would be good for them. So you have to kind of like try and work out different aspects of people's lives, and put that into some sort of context that this form of therapy is really, really good for them.
yeah,
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 I mean, that's a really good. It's really good that you've already got that step. You know, you've actually got like a space, and
yeah,
the fact that you're out there and you're physically doing it one-on-one with people as well. It's kind of like you can just see the next hurdle is ready for you, just to then go into your own dedicated space, which is something that I think we all kind of dream of and aspire to
yeah,
eventually.
yeah. Definitely. I've sort of got plans underway. It was a little bit. One of my daughters moved out, and I thought, oh, there's a bedroom free, and then. Then she said, actually, I'm coming back,
All right.
and and so on and so forth. So yeah, we yeah, it's something to work towards, I
Yeah,
think, at the minute.
yeah. So what brought you to the here and now to become a holistic healer?
Well, what it was, quite a few years ago, I trained in beauty therapy with my sister, and we had our own small salon then that was set up within a building in her garden. It was sort of a brick built building that had already got water supply and heating and that kind of thing, lights. So we worked from there. We had a small salon, And then my sister left the business, and then she wanted to move house. so then I sort of lost that salon space, and things moved on. I had a couple more children myself, and it wasn't something that I wanted to carry on with again. Even though there's a larger market for sort of beauty therapy and that type of thing, because people are working, they want evenings, weekends, times when it's convenient for them to come, which isn't always convenient if you've got a young family yourself that you're
Yeah.
trying to care for. So that sort of came to an end. So it gave me a good grounding, I would say, in treatments, a good grounding in the human body and sort of psychology and that type of thing, and just the psychological effects really of people coming to have a treatment, and
Yeah.
how healing it can be for them, even if it's not particularly a healing treatment.
Yeah.
You know, even something like a facial gives people massive psychological boosts.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's sort of there in the background, but I moved on from that, and I actually trained to be a teacher. So I was an early years teacher, which I did quite happily for a number of years. And then it sort of became a time, and when you're in teaching, sort of safeguarding's always an issue that you deal with, and so on. And I went for a training just as normal. And I can't say anybody really enjoys doing the safeguarding training. It can be, you know, quite intense, and you hear some things that you don't really want to hear. So that was it. I just went for my training as normal, and then sort of the following day, really, I remembered that I'd been abused as a child, and it is something that I'd never quite understand when I'd heard that people had suppressed these memories for so many years, and then I was actually one of them.
Yeah.
So that was quite a shock.
Yeah.
And really, over the next few months, it made me feel that I couldn't continue in that role. Because when you work with early years children as a daily basis, there's always something. Children come in with a cut or a bruise or a whatever, and you then ask the parent for an explanation, get form work filled, pass it on to your manager, etc., etc. But I felt at that point that I couldn't take that step away from it. It was sort of taking over me, anything like that, and I was just on constant high alert with it, and you know, got to the point of not being able to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, and just being so stressed out about.
I can imagine it being extremely draining on your own energy, and you know, and
Yeah.
you know, if you're very empathic as well, you know, picking up on that energy from the children, from the families, you know, extremely draining. And it's quite interesting as well. There seems to be a correlation between a lot of people that have been through or they've had this contact with some form of trauma,
Yeah.
or something in that region, and it's brought up realizations of things that may be buried within them, and
Yeah.
and then that's kind of like pushed them onto their own healing journey, which makes them then realize, actually, this is really, really good. I need to push this to help other people as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that was it. So that was sort of, my career was at an end. Something, I'd gone to university, which is quite difficult to do when you've got, sorry, that's my dog going, when you've got 4 children, you know, and a family and with the responsibilities. And I spent 4 years training and putting myself through that. And for it to come to an end after really about 5 years or so was also quite hard.
Yeah.
But that's really what sort of started me on my healing journey, when I'd had this realization, I didn't know what to do with it. And I just sort of thought, oh, well, that's in the past, can't do anything about it, can't change anything. And I just sort of ploughed on. I just got another job, not working in childcare, that fit around my family. And I just ploughed on with it. And then sort of partly, I think, because of COVID, partly because of the lockdowns that we went through. And I've always had a bit of a tricky relationship with my mother. And then some things came to the forefront then as well, that I realised that actually we were in quite an abusive relationship as well, and that she was very sort of emotionally and psychologically abusive, not just to me but to my siblings as well. And I could see that pattern, and I kept being attracted to stories on narcissism, and I didn't really know what it was at the time. And as I started reading these articles and that, I realized that was my mother, that was our relationship, that this is what she was still doing, like, to me now as an adult. That I'd never really sort of got away from that. And I had a very vivid dream around about 18 months ago. And it was, I realise now that it was everything about my previous abuse, the sexual abuse I'd suffered, the psychological and emotional abuse that I'd suffered. And it was all in that dream. But at the time, I didn't understand it. But I wrote it down because there was some real sort of key things, like there was a swimming pool, which is emotions. There was an iguana, which really stuck in my mind. I've dreamed about an iguana. What's this about? And so I sort of looked into some of the symbolism of that, and I wrote it down. And then I just went through a period of really deteriorating health. My knees started to collapse when I was walking. And I found that my hands were tingling all the time, and I got like loss of feeling in my fingertips. And so I'd got neuralgia down my face all the time. And this sort of built up, and it got worse and worse. And I saw the GP, and he said, I'll refer you to a neurologist. So obviously some of that got delayed because of COVID and so on and so forth. And it got worse and worse. And then all of a sudden I started having seizures. And so I went through this period of having all of these seizures, and it sort of built up and built up. And I was having perhaps 50 seizures a day, and just sort of all day and all night. And yeah, it just got so bad. I couldn't do anything. I had to have my husband bring me downstairs in case I fell. He had to take me to the shower and stuff like that. I was just frightened all the time. I just sort of lost all of my ability to go and be independent. And I went, eventually my appointment came round. I went to the neurologist, and she said, this is from your past child abuse that you've suffered. This is what's caused it. She said, there's nothing physically wrong with you, it's psychological. It's because you've never processed this and you've never dealt with it. And so that sort of, then she'd suggested counselling, which I did start to go down that route. But I found they even said to me, we can't deal with this. What we're doing for you won't help. And so the neurologist said she couldn't help. What she said to me, and this will crack you up, she said, there's nothing we can do for you. You can have talking therapy, but if you'd like some antidepressants, you can have some. And I said, I'm not depressed. oh,
Yeah.
it might help.
Mind.
I'm just like, no, what on earth? And so I thought I've got to do something else.
Yeah.
Um, and at that time, I was obviously being given guidance. Reiki kept popping into my head, Reiki, Reiki. And
Mm.
I could remember having seen on some kind of television program, I think it was a travel program or something, and people go to the East and sort of try different things. And the lady had tried Reiki, and you saw her having a Reiki session, and she let out this primal scream as she was having a Reiki,
Mm.
and said, "Oh yes, that's common. It really, can get rid of these emotional blockages."
Mm.
And so on. And so I thought, oh, I've got to have some Reiki. But we were in the midst of a lockdown.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, I don't know what to do about that. So I started sort of looking for a Reiki practitioner in my area and started looking at people's websites. And this lady says, I do distance healing. I couldn't get my head around it. I was like, how, how can that work? Obviously, I'd been a beauty therapist and you see people in person. How can, I can't
Yeah.
send somebody a massage. I just,
Yeah, it just doesn't correlate.
I just,
Like, well, you're not there, you're not with the person, so how can it work? But we're constantly surrounded by this energy. It's only a case that as a practitioner we can tap into that energy to allow it to channel and heal you from your
I
subconscious.
know.
Yeah.
I just couldn't understand it, Ian. I really couldn't. And I just thought, well, this could be a massive con. I could just, pay my money. And she says, yeah, I've done it,
Yeah.
And so it really was, quite, I was like, oh, I need to do something. And so I started to look on YouTube and I thought, there must be something on YouTube about this. And I don't know if you've discovered it yourself, but there's an amazing master who puts out healing videos on YouTube. She's called Andrea Kennedy, and she
Ah,
works from mainstream Reiki.
yes.
You've heard of that, haven't
Yeah.
you? You've heard of Andrea. And so I started following her and just having that first session, and I thought, what is this? I'll give it a go and see.
Mm.
And so I had, watched one of her videos, and I felt the heat and I felt the buzzing and everything. And that was the first night I'd not had any seizures.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
This is good. I'll do this again. And so I kept watching Andrea, and she does like she takes you through self-healing as well. So I started doing that on a daily basis, just watching the YouTube videos, watching her various outputs that she's had. And within 2 weeks, I was seizure free,
Wow.
which was just unbelievable.
It's
And
my
going from 50 plus seizures to no seizures, and I was like, I need to learn this and I need to find out more about this. So that was the start of my journey.
wow.
And I feel like now Andrea, she's got a podcast, she's got, she's been asked to host all kinds of healing summits
Mm.
and everything. But at the time, I can remember not long after I started watching her, she'd got to 5K viewers, and she was like, oh, thank you, I've got to 5K viewers. And now she's like 100K viewers all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was amazing mentor for me, really. Even as I did my training, she's put so many helpful videos out there, not just for people who want healing, but for practitioners on how
Mm.
to grow your business and how to set up your room and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. So she's done so much.
Yeah.
And really, I'd say she's like my Reiki mentor, even though I've never met her or anything like that. She's somebody that, I can't tell you how many times I've got like recommended it to people, and please watch this, and this woman's amazing. So yeah, so that was the start of it for me.
That's fabulous.
And then I've done obviously progressed through my training, and I'm in a position now to help others.
Yeah. I think again, that's another correlation that I found with other the last few coffee chats that I've done is, people have gone through all this, these things that we go through in life, and it helps us realize, and we come to the point where actually now we're at a position where we can help those people ourselves because we've been through this. And I also find that, and what I've found with other Reiki masters and practitioners and therapists, that they seem to attract people that have been through similar scenarios in life. And it's almost like that, it's that universal energetic voice that is speaking out, and it resonates to people, even though you don't actually say anything. It's this universal collective consciousness that is bringing the people to you because they know, basically what you've been through, how much you've been through, and how much you can help someone with this wonderful gift of healing, that you've discovered. That is such a fantastic story. That, I mean, that needs to be shared far and wide. I mean, what you've been through with regards to your seizures and all this deep healing that you've had to go through from your childhood and all through life.
Well, this is the thing. The more I've sort of discovered, one of my other therapies is colour therapy, and that is it's such an umbrella term because it encompasses anything and everything with the vibrations. So from aromatherapy to coloured baths to coloured lights to your clothing, all kinds of things that is encompassed under colour therapy. And there's part of that that's kind of a diagnosis. So you go through the chakras and you see, and really at the point that I was, every chakra was blocked. Like talking therapy, I couldn't have spoken about my abuse or anything like that anyway. So how could it even help me? Because I couldn't even articulate it, And I realise now from the colour therapy that not only was every chakra blocked, but my aura was cracked. And I believe that's what actually was causing the seizures, because that's part of having a cracked aura. So you're leaking all of this light from your aura, and this is what's making you have seizures. So absolutely amazing healing that I've had through Reiki, through colour therapy, Reiki mainly. And it came to me, the way I sort of have my treatment menu is everything is Reiki with. So it's Reiki is my main vehicle. And although there's so many things you could do with colour therapy, thing that I do is I use pure silk. So I have squares of pure silk that will go on the chakras, corresponding chakras, and then we'll have Reiki. And that vibration, that colour vibration just heightens the healing for that chakra. I mean, the Reiki does the work, same as when you use crystals. One of my latest things is sound therapy, and again, that goes really well with Reiki, that you can use. I tend to use tuning forks, so you can use, if you use the solfeggio scale, you use the tuning fork for each chakra, and then you can have a general one for your aura, and then there's another one that you can use for pain. So I've started to use that as well in my treatments. But all of this, the name of my business is Reiki Pure and Simple, and my whole treatment menu came to me as I was having Reiki. So anything that I've sort of seen or intuited when I'm having Reiki, that's 100% for me. I'd just do that, no questions asked.
That is amazing. That was something I was going to bring on a little bit later, but we may as well delve into that now and just talk about this sound therapy, because I know sound, I mean, obviously color therapy, Reiki, but sound as well has an amazing healing gift. And there's all these different hertz. I mean, even if you go onto YouTube, you can listen to various pieces of music which are resonated at a certain frequency to give you healing on a certain level. How do you just use tuning forks? Do you use singing bowls as well?
I do have a singing bowl. I just have the one. There seems to be a bit of a trend as you've got to have one for every chakra, but you don't need to do that. It's the vibration. So I have a lot of tuning forks because I have them for various joints as well, and for pain that might be in those particular joints. But I have one gong, I have one singing bowl, and I have one drum. And that's fine. And you can do a lot of sound therapy with just your voice.
Absolutely.
And just doing the vowels, just doing a sound, just doing that hum, and that will really open your throat chakra, and that will be really healing. And one of the things that I now realize, having done the sound healing, that a lot of what we do or have done in early years, and as a parent, when you shut your child up and you tell them to be quiet and to use an inside voice, actually that's quite damaging for your throat chakra. That can cause blockages and energy blockages. And so really we should be saying, let it all out. Scream. Let it all out if that's how you feel.
Because I mean for them, they might have things inside, and they like you say, they just need to let this, this feeling, this voice, they need to let something out, and just let it go. And once it's gone, and then you can start and just bring them back to a centered place. I've found sound healing and sound therapy to be so beneficial for myself as well, using singing bowls, things like that.
That's what that was one of the questions I was going to ask you about actually as well, Ian. I wondered if there was anything that you used. This is Joey, by the way.
Hey, Joey.
He's like, where did that sound come from? Joey does get Reiki. He gets lots of Reiki when he's with me. Joe, shall we get down now? He's very loving. He can't work out what I'm doing talking to his screen.
You're talking to yourself.
Yeah, that's it. He thinks I'm talking to him, of course.
I have two singing bowls. I got one I think one was as a Christmas present off my partner, and the other one I got from a shop in a town called Redcar near me, and it's from a little shop. It's called Under a Spell, and I was thinking about getting another singing bowl, and anyway, I'd seen two, and I tried the first one, and it was nice, but it was a little bit tinny. And I tried the other one, and it had such a lovely warm sound to it. I was like, that's the one, and got it. And it's just ever so slightly lower in pitch than the one I already have. But I mean, even when I use my singing bowls, I will run the wand around the rim, and I'll let it ring, and I'll hold it at each chakra point on my body and just bring it up. Hold it at my third eye, hold it above my head, over at the crown, around my ears, and just clear. And the sound just clears the aura, and you can actually feel it. You can actually feel the energy moving in the aura, and just this vibration, this tingling that goes all over your body. And it's something that I haven't done for a while, and I keep meaning to get the singing bowl out and start again. But I think maybe that's why we needed to have this conversation today, just to remind me.
Just to remind you to do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Round to it, because I mean, there's so many tools that we do use as healers, like obviously there's the aromatherapy, there's oils, there's the sound, there's Reiki, there's color, there's so many different things that we can incorporate within our Reiki practice as well, because it's so diverse and so flexible, with so many different other therapies that we can involve it with. But I love using the singing bowl, and even sometimes just putting a YouTube video on with music that's got a certain vibration, of what it's meant, whatever it's meant to do, that frequency, and just closing my eyes and going into deep meditation, and just feeling, when I come out of it, I'm just like, wow, that just feels absolutely
I
amazing.
know. Yeah. Well, one of the things I do listen to a lot on YouTube is the Inner Lotus music. I don't know if that's one that you've discovered yourself, but they've sort of got videos for everything you can imagine. But
Yeah.
I really do use their chakra balancing a
Mm,
lot for myself. They have different lengths of time of it, but I find the one that's around about half an hour
mm,
is nice for me, because
yeah.
I can just pop that on, lie, relax, bring in the Reiki,
Yeah.
let it all do its stuff, you
Yeah.
know.
It's not too long, because some of the videos can be on for like 3, 4, 5, 10 hours,
Yes,
whatever it
yes,
may
yeah,
be, but half an hour,
yeah,
if you've only got a certain amount of time that you need to fit it into your morning or your evening, that 30 minutes is just about right, just to bring yourself to a centered place once again, to just calm
yeah,
your mind and focus your mind, body and spirit.
yeah, definitely. And I'm quite lucky in that my husband and my children are all musicians,
Oh, better.
which I'm definitely not a musician. I'll do a bit of humming, but that's about it. And my son's, I asked him, will you be able to make me some tracks like this? So I showed him what I wanted, and I said one for each of my tuning forks. And so
Right.
he's started doing that. So he's making me sort of a 5 minute track for each one. And and he said, "Oh, that's really easy." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." All right. But I'm like, "Oh, that's great," because I want to be able to use um something that's mine,
Mhm.
to use. And
Yeah.
you have to be careful, obviously, when you have clients, what you're broadcasting and if it's licensed and so on and so forth. So yeah, I've asked him to do that, and he's made a start. He's made me my first 3 tracks, so
Oh, fantastic.
that's
That's really
good.
good. Yeah, I know, I know. I mean, I've done some singing bowl videos on my channel, and I've used the rain stick, and then I've incorporated the rain stick with singing bowls as well, and put them two together. But there's another channel that I do follow as well, called Healing Vibrations. I don't know if you're aware of them.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and he's normally sat with around about 10, 10 singing bowls around him, and he has
yeah.
multiple tones going off. And I mean, I love listening to them, just close my eyes, and because there's the two tones going off, it really, I mean, some people might find it quite, I suppose, aggravating for the hearing, but for me, I just think,
Mm.
oh wow, it feels so good to have these multiple tones that
Mm.
I can hear.
I think with that, it perhaps depends on your state of mind. Like sometimes I
Yeah,
like that kind of thing, and sometimes it's just overstimulation,
yeah.
like it's just an overload for your system. You
Yeah,
can't take it.
totally agree. I mean, sometimes I've put one on with the intention, but I've obviously not been in the right state of mind. And when them double multiple tones have come in, I'm just like, oh, I can't listen to that right now. And I'll just put some like nature sounds on or whatever, and that usually works a lot better for me. But yeah, I mean, I do enjoy that channel, and
Yeah,
listening to them. But I mean, most recently, I think the main things that I've been listening to really is um, channels like The Awakening Planet. There's Aura Relax. There's all sorts of different channels that have
yeah.
multiple
Mm.
videos, but yeah, they have some great sound frequency videos on there. So if anyone's,
And there's a lot now on Spotify as well, I find.
yeah, I mean, it's I think it's become that big now, and it's that well known that this form of healing is so good for people, that it's just
Mm.
it's going crazy. It's taking over all the different platforms, which normally is just full of whatever chewing gum it might be. But yeah, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so powerful. Yeah, yeah, really
Yeah,
good.
yeah, it is really good. Obviously, it's dealing with a vibration, which is exactly the same as Reiki. Reiki's energy.
Yeah,
Energy's a vibration.
yeah,
It's all the same thing. And sometimes, like you say, it's just different vehicles appeal to different
mm,
people.
yeah,
So somebody that you wouldn't reach with Reiki might be reached with sound therapy, or might be reached with colour therapy. So again, it's just, you know, it's just trying to help as many people as you can, I guess, in as many ways as possible.
So is the sound therapy, did you do a course for the sound therapy?
I did a course,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But I was thinking, I was trying to think, how will I use this? So at the moment, as I say, Reiki intuited to me to use it with Reiki. But
Mm,
I'd got in my mind that I might try to run a workshop, and
mm,
I'd got two sort of alternatives for that: run a workshop for adults, or run a workshop as like a mums and tots, because
yeah,
obviously that's my background. um I didn't know whether to do like a mums and tots type workshop where they come and, you know, you have different things and they have a go, and then you could introduce them.
mm,
Again, why I've got my son to do me some tracks, that you could have like a 5 minute relaxation time at the
yeah,
end,
yeah,
and just sort of take it in turns through the chakras with which one you're using. But I'm just trying to work out in my head how that would look. Would that be like a course that you put out there, that people buy the course of 10 weeks or 7 weeks,
yeah.
or whatever? And
Mm,
I have sort of looked into initially some spaces that are local to me, like community centres, so on, sort of looking at their availability and cost. And there's so many possibilities, Ian, but it's just how to get started with it all, and
yeah,
you
absolutely.
know, how to build that demand, really.
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree with you there. I mean, there's so many different avenues you can go down and explore and try out. And then, you know, if that doesn't work, then you try something else. And if that works, then great. And now, how do you enhance it? How do you develop it? You know, and I think you, along with a lot of people, you know, we've all got this kind of like intuitive feeling, and we follow that inner voice, you know, because we've been brought to this place for a reason, to pass on this message of healing and being able to find this gift within ourselves to develop our own energy. You know, and it's just like you say, it's just trying to formulate a way of putting it out there to be accessible for people, but to also get past the point that, because I mean, there is a lot of there's a lot of ego with people, and a lot of that as well just kind of like pushes all this to one side and just goes straight down the pharmaceutical doctor route. Whereas obviously, you know, myself in the past with depression and mental health, and then you
Mm,
with what you've been through, we've come to a point where we've realized, actually, no, that isn't always the answer. Sometimes
mm,
the answer is of an alternative route, which is tends to be hidden and kept
yes.
out of the way. And that's another reason why we have to work so hard and put so many man hours into pushing the business and striving forward, because it's a message of truth that
Mm,
we need to put out there.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, it's so the things that I was going to ask you, Ian, was sort of, I've told you about my sort of mentor and my journey so far. So I was wondering if you'd had a mentor apart from the master who trained you.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously there's my Reiki master, and then some of his students as well that are now Reiki master teachers. That when we have our Reiki shares, that they're always a great to get together, and we all experience and share stories of Reiki and awakening journeys and what's happened between us. And in fact, in a couple of weeks' time, I've actually managed to get my Reiki master to do one of these coffee chats as well. So we're going to have a
Oh,
good chat
brilliant.
about that. So that we're both really looking forward to that. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, there's loads of people again on YouTube that I've discovered similar to yourself, that I've followed for many, many years, that have had such a big influence on me and my healing journey. One of those people was a guy called Mark Byersky. I'm not sure if you're aware of him, but he's a crystal healer and he's a psychic, and he lives in Spain. And when I first came into contact with crystals, and almost like this intuitive sense that it was something I had to connect with them, when I first got my first few crystals, I was like, well, what do I do now? Where do I go from here? I know nothing about them. I have no knowledge whatsoever. And just watching some of his videos and finding out more about crystals and how he uses crystals and how he cleanses them, how he works with them, how he uses them on clients for his healing sessions. That for me was like a big turning point with regards to not only crystals, but also my own healing journey and also my own development of my own abilities from within. So yeah, I mean, he was probably one of the main first people that I was drawn to watch on YouTube, and I would like to think of him as a bit of a mentor for me as well. Definitely. And I mean, he does live healing sessions on YouTube as well, and he does various things across various platforms. But yeah, I mean the crystals, the healing, and because he uses, I mean, a lot, he's got a website, and he's got quite a lot of stuff on his website which you can buy, and a lot of his crystals are very expensive, but they are premium, pristine quality. But obviously he's put a lot of his time into them, a lot of his energy's gone into them for the people's benefit, you know, for what they might want the crystal for. He uses other things that I buy, such as these, which are they're called negative energy cleansing sticks. It's basically like a Palo Santo, but it's also got like a moldavite dust within it. So when you burn it, you're also burning some of the moldavite to help cleanse and clear any negativity from around your aura. But I would say he was probably one of the main people. Yeah, and obviously my Reiki family, and I know you guys as well. You know, you guys that I connect with on Instagram, and you know, and come into contact with, and I see your posts, and I read people's posts day in, day out, and I'm just like, wow, that is so like insightful and how did they do that, and how, and so I think you will agree that we're always constantly learning, and we're always developing and finding
definitely
ways all the time.
Well, it's just amazing that these tools are out here now. You know that you can find a mentor who's in a different country, you know, through YouTube. That you can find, you know, people who, you know, are so knowledgeable about crystals or about sound or whatever it is, and you can just connect with them. And like I say, when I started doing it, I knew a little bit from beauty therapy. I knew holistic therapists. I knew complementary therapists. I knew people who were sort of reflexologists, aromatherapists, that type of thing, who did training when I did mine. I didn't really know about Reiki at all, which was just a bit odd. And I think, why didn't I look more into it like 20 years ago or whatever, when I first heard about it and wondered, oh, what that is. And I just, like I say, I couldn't see the distance Reiki, how that would work. And I couldn't see, you know, when you've seen people doing Reiki, and it's always like hands off that they depict, and I think, how on earth could that work? But obviously we know it does work. I think at the time, I just wasn't in the mindset to be able to see it, and so I think that's another thing. Somebody who doesn't want Reiki today might well want it tomorrow, you know, so you just have to keep putting yourself out there, that you're available to people.
I put a post out yesterday onto my Facebook and my Instagram, and it was basically, you know, I was basically saying that there's no like perfect time to have Reiki, because it's about balancing your life and bringing your life into and balancing it across all areas of your life. But also the fact that some people will get to a point where they'll just think, you know what, I'm just going to give this a try. And then they give it a try, and then they're like, well, I'm not sure what's happened, but something feels different.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, I'll give it another go, and then they'll try again. But then there might be another session where they don't feel anything, and they become quite disappointed and disheartened. You're like, well, you don't need to feel everything every time. Just
Mm.
understand that it is working. It's
It's
working in the
working.
background, and it's working for your highest good. And it's very, very powerful, but it is extremely subtle in the effects of how Reiki works. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
it's absolutely fascinating. It still blows my mind today, like how it works. And I mean, for me to be sat here to send healing to someone in America, so it has to come from here to them, and it's this constant back and forth, back and forth. But then we think, well, actually, no, we are always surrounded by this wonderful force of universe
Yeah.
and energy. It's just how we interact it and how we want to use it for ourselves.
Mm, definitely. Definitely.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I was going to ask you about, Ian, was your art.
Oh yeah.
I like your most recent one, The Mirror, did you
Oh,
call
the
it?
mirror. Yeah, I've got it here actually. I've just I was just thinking this morning about what to do next, but yeah, that's it there.
Yeah, I like that. That's lovely. Lovely colours.
Yeah, it's I mean, you can probably guess why I've called it the mirror, but it's almost just about really like how your thoughts and your whole mental aspect, and whatever you think, whatever you do, whatever you put out there, you will attract in some other way. And that's basically why I've tried to incorporate similar colors that's on the outside as what's on the inside of the mind. So whatever is being thought is being put out there for the universe. And it's the same with us as Reiki masters, Reiki practitioners, that that we are sending this healing, this intention to do the good for that person, and it's attracting and it's sending and it's doing what it needs to. It's such a
Yeah.
powerful force.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So is Reiki something, sorry, not Reiki, is art something that you've studied formally, or is it, are you self-taught? Have you come
Um,
to it through
I've,
time?
I've always enjoyed art. I was always good at school. At art, I was always like the creative things. I was always very good at the stuff that you have to use your brain for. I was never very good at. So art, English, that sort of thing, I was always really good at them.
Mm,
But yeah, I mean, art. I've always had like a love for art, and I've always enjoyed drawing, and even now, like looking at it now, for me, it is a form of mindfulness. It's putting
yeah,
myself into that place to do that. I did go to art college, and but it was kind of like I think it was like a GNVQ of art and design. So there was many different aspects of art within that course. So there was fine art, there was graphic design, there was a technical drawing, there was photography, there was textiles. There was so many different aspects of art and design that were included within that course. And obviously, I mean, I enjoyed all of it, but the main ones that I enjoyed the most, I really enjoyed the photography, because we got to actually develop the film and we created our own
yeah,
photographs. But
yeah,
the main ones that I really enjoyed was things like the graphic design and the fine art, which is obviously like the painting, drawing,
yeah,
and what have you. So really enjoyed that, and learned, got to know a lot more about different mediums, because um, obviously when I was younger and I used to paint when I was at school and what have you, it was always just kind of watercolors. And
mm,
I was totally unaware that there was all these other different things we can actually use, like
mm,
charcoals and pastels and oil pastels and acrylic paint, which this is painted with it. And I mainly use acrylics now. I do use oils
yeah,
occasionally, but they just say it takes so long to dry. But
yeah,
acrylics have quite a similar effect, really.
mm.
So yeah, it just opened up so much more and made me so much more aware of what's available and what's out there. Um,
So
as
is that something you want to develop in a healing medium? Would you think about doing some workshops or something like that?
the workshop thing has popped in. It has been an idea for something to develop in the future when I do have like a space I can work in. I could do like art workshops,
Yeah.
you know, and even just, you know, even if people aren't any good at art, it doesn't matter about your proficiency or however good you feel you are at art. It's just about coming to that space and having the blank canvas, and then just, you know, just picturing what you want to put on there, regardless of what it may be, and just create and just let that flow. And it's just about people finding their flow of what they think they need to just do at that point in
Yeah.
time. uh,
Yeah.
and that's like the last three pieces that I've done. They've been very spiritually guided. I've had no real sort of thought process has gone into it,
Mm.
other than the fact that, you know, it's got to a point where, right, I'm starting again. I've got a blank canvas. What do I want to do? And then I'll just put a base color down, and then away it goes, and then that's it. And then that's
Yeah.
pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. The other thing I wanted to ask you about was your meditations that you do.
Mm.
Um, what sort of brought you to that, and what do you see? What for you is the difference between your Reiki time and your meditation time, or do you see them more as a continuation of each other?
Right. I mean, meditation for me was a big part of my initial healing process from
Mm.
depression and anxiety from years ago. So I was introduced to meditation by a friend of mine, and he was aware of obviously my condition and what I was going through at the time. And he actually said, "Have you ever thought about trying to do some meditation?" And it was
Mm.
something like I was just like, would never have even ever considered doing, really. I didn't ever think I would be that person.
Mm.
Then we did a meditation. It wasn't for very long, but it had such a profound effect on my thoughts, well, lack thereof of thoughts, really, and just the calmness of mind, and there was something that had shifted, something that had changed. And obviously that was just kind of like the ping moment where I was just like, well, I gotta, you know, venture further down this avenue and discover more about meditation. And then and that's basically what took me down this path of, I suppose, awakening and realization of how powerful we really are. um
Yeah.
but I mean I do enjoy, because I do some guided meditations on the channel as well. I do enjoy doing them, but I also enjoy just doing a meditation for myself, and I try to
Yeah.
every day if I can. But for me, usually depending on how my day is stacked, I will try and I'll do a meditation first, and then I'll go into a Reiki session. So it kind of
Yeah.
like, it just piggybacks the other. But I do
Mm.
find the meditation is extremely grounding, and it brings me into the present moment and into the now. So that when I do go into a Reiki session, you know, if anything, suppose astral or ethereal or anything like that, or any sort of thing else that might be going on, you know, I'm very present, I'm very in the moment, I'm very, very aware. And so
Yeah.
sometimes, you know, I do see things and I'm aware of things, or ideas will come in, or I'll hear things. But it's just about like trying not to let those distractions take you away from that moment and that now, that oneness.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. Definitely.
Do you enjoy meditation?
Like you say, I usually just, it's something that I would do prior to self Reiki, and it's part of my preparation process. Like I always have a particular piece of music that I
Mm.
listen to, and I find that even if I wasn't going to do Reiki, if I listened to that piece of music, I would just be sort of in.
Yeah, yeah,
um, because it must be like, uh, just almost like brainwashed yourself into, I listen to this music and then I'm, ready for Reiki.
like
But I find that that's actually quite useful when you do need to then see a client and bring in Reiki and things like that. That's quite a useful tool, that this piece of music is already kind of your preparation. Your brain just
Yeah.
automatically then goes into the Reiki mode.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I suppose it's almost like your subconscious it's already taken over, because it recognizes that sound, that tone, that vibration, that right, this is your time for you, it's your time for your Reiki, it's your time for your clients, and it just
Yeah,
puts you into that space of mind.
yeah.
That's amazing, absolutely amazing. We've nearly covered an hour, believe it or not.
I think we have. I
I think
think
I've
we
only
have.
asked 3 questions. But
Oh, never mind. It's been a great chat, though.
it
Thank you very
really has.
much.
We must do this again, because I just feel that there's so much more to talk about. I only feel like we've really covered half of the messages
Half
that,
of what you planned.
yeah. So we must do it again. And yeah, in the near future. I know I'm talking to Claire Thackeray again, who I did my first coffee chat with.
Yes, yeah, I watched
We're
it.
connecting again. Probably next week or the week after, I can't remember. It's in my diary somewhere. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about past lives.
Ah,
I think is going to be quite an interesting discussion.
I
Um,
think so, yeah.
I've just recently had something called an Akashic reading,
Right.
and this is my second one, and it's brought up a lot of interesting information. So that's going to be something that I'll probably bring into the discussion with Claire as well. But I think if you're okay, should we call it a day, because we've had an hour.
Yeah,
We could probably
yeah.
call day the way we're going.
No, that's absolutely fine, Ian.
Yeah,
Like yourself, I've got quite a tight schedule, so
yeah.
I'm
So
sure you've got other things to get on with, and I have some other commitments as well.
yeah, absolutely. But thank you
It's been
again so
absolutely
much
brilliant.
thank you so much for joining us. And like I say, we will do it again.
Yeah,
But yeah, and to anybody watching, thank you for joining and meeting the lovely Anna Marie and talking about her journey. And I hope it's brought some awareness to this wonderful path of healing for so many more. So,
yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
any last words you want to share, Anna, before you
No,
go?
no, not really, Ian. Thank you so much.
No,
It's
you're
been
welcome.
really, really useful, and a really nice chat, and just to, as you say, to get it out there, to hopefully reach some people, to hopefully make them think, even if they think Reiki's not for them, it could well be for them,
Yeah.
and other modalities.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, once again, thank you very much, Anna. And you take care. Have a wonderful day, and
Thank you.
I will see you again soon.
Okay then. Thank you. Bye. Bye.